Hey friends, welcome to a new day. This is Zen, and thank you for joining me once again on my journey, coming back from fear. Today is episode 2, and I'm calling this one Fight or Flight, Rest and Digest. In episode 1, we talked about where the emotional monsters of fear are born. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what fear does to our mind and to our bodies. But we're going to start off taking deep breaths to calm our bodies and our mind. I'll explain why in a moment, so just trust me. So just take a deep breath in through your nose and just count inside your head. 1, 2, 3. Hold it for 1, 2, 3. And exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3. And repeat that one more time. Just inhale through your nose. Hold it. And exhale through your mouth. Okay. So now let's chat. Whether it is a real threat or a perceived threat, our bodies don't know the difference. You might have recognized it in your own life, that sights and smells have activated your emotions, even though you knew it was a movie or a controlled campfire, whatever it may have been. I have memories of laying on my back at Disneyland as the projection of a roller coaster reflected, before my eyes on the ceiling, my stomach falling inside as we edge over the hump and begin to fall. Yet, just closing my eyes made the feeling stop. Or the fright that is activated, when you're watching a movie and someone says, "Be right back." So in those scary movies, we know what happens when they go into the basement to check out why the lights suddenly went out. We know what it means for them normally because we've seen it all before in other movies. We hide behind the pillow, thinking that this will protect us, while we continue to watch, not being able to look away very often. And we are kept in fight or flight mode by how we were and are conditioned, and by what we feed our eyes, our nose, our ears. The news we watch, the Facebook posts we look at, the books we read, the movies and TV programs we watch, the advertisements we see, the songs we listen to. All these things contribute to our conditioning. They contribute to our view of what we think our world should be. Action, adventure, threats, devastation, pain, and suffering. Though the made-up stuff in, the movies and books and songs usually end up with a victory or a happy ending, we have still put our bodies through a perceived threat, even though the things we are witnessing are not really happening to us. Here are some of the effects that fear has on our bodies. See if you recognize any of these that happen to you. So our primitive side of our brain, gets the body ready for action whenever it is thrown into that fight or flight mode. Adrenaline and stress hormones are released in us. Our blood pressure rises as our heart pumps faster, sending adrenaline and oxygen through our body. We can experience chest pains as our lungs contract to allow for more oxygen. Our breathing can become faster and more shallow with hyperventilation. Our face begins to blush or look flushed. We may become dizzy or lightheaded with the surge of oxygen, and as the blood leaves our brain, we find it harder to concentrate or focus. And that flood of adrenaline can cause, trembling and shakiness, and we can have that butterfly feeling in our stomach as well. Our pupils will dilate so we can be alert for any movement in the shadows. And those non-essential physiological processes switch off So those things are like our digestion slows down or ceases. So our stomach and our gastrointestinal tract constricts to divert blood to our muscles. Our mouth goes dry as digestion shuts down. So there's no need to spend all that extra energy creating spit. And we can have difficulty swallowing. Our skin might chill. We can even experience sweating and like cold hands as our body prepares for exertion. So it's getting ready to fight or to run. We have cortisol released to depress the immune system. Our liver releases glucose to provide quick fuel for our muscles. Our blood sugar level increases and constricts our blood vessels, and our metabolism is switched to extra high. Our spleen pumps out white blood cells in preparation for possible physical injury. Blood is diverted into muscles to prepare for a burst of emergency action. Our neck and shoulder muscles tense up. Our other muscles also tense, getting ready for that action, to fight or run like hell. Wow. All this stuff makes me want to take some more deep breaths. All this talk of the impact on our bodies can rile up our fight or flight reaction within us. So try taking another deep breath in through the nose. Hold it. And release the breath out through the mouth. Our bodies are amazing machines, and it is designed to survive. But these bodily reactions are meant to be an occasional, short-lived process of survival, as our real dangers, would not be happening over and over and over each day. That was until we were introduced to the emotional monsters. And what does this continual activation of our alarm system do to our bodies? Our bodies are designed to fight off illness, yet with our immune system constantly shutting off, we are faced with more illness than we have ever been in our society. And though our bodies are designed to fight off cancer, it is a common occurrence in our society today. And we tend to treat the symptoms, not the cause. With the impact on our immune system, we also have more allergies, more autoimmune disorders. With the high blood pressure continually in our bodies, we have more heart issues. It does give us headaches, migraines. With our nervous system being overused, we're experiencing insomnia and sleeplessness, chronic pain, arthritis, panic and anxiety disorders, chronic fatigue. And we have a greater amount of digestive issues as well, and that impacts, obesity, our ability to, digest correctly. We've got a lot of irritable bowel and other gastrointestinal problems. And with that happening inside of us, it does show itself in skin disorders with acne and eczema and other skin disorders. And you'll notice with all the blood leaving our brain and all the mishmash of chemicals being off balance in our bodies, we start acting illogical and have poor decision-making skills under stress. The primitive mind overrides the logical mind for the sake of our survival. It doesn't want us contemplating the risk of fighting, versus fleeing as we get eaten. So we become very reactionary. You see a lot of road rage and also more people on medication for suicidal thoughts and depression. All of these are more rampant than they have ever been. If we live past the danger, our mind stores this memory of the threat into our long-term memory. And it is designed to live, and it is designed to learn. Our mind wants to keep us safe. So you touch this, you get burned. Go in there, you get attacked. Act this way, you get rejected. Act that other way and get praised and accepted and rewarded. Our mind may also relate like two completely separate activities. One that was creating fear, kind of paired up with something that was not. So let's say like I'm driving and I hear something on the radio that creates fear in me. Maybe it's a country song where someone's cheating on someone and that creates a spike of fear in me. My mind might relate fear and driving together, where if it's a strong enough emotion or an often enough occurrence, it can cement that relationship in our brain. It could be totally subconscious. We could have a fearful experience at a specific location where we felt betrayed or attacked, and then we relate those feelings to that place or similar places for the future as well. We might have anxiety about going back there. But, our mind wants to protect us, wants to keep us out of harm's way, even if it's not true bodily harm. Those emotional monster bites seem so real. And fear makes us act differently. We see it all the time. You're someone who normally is so level-headed in most situations, and suddenly they change when faced with a situation that triggers one of their fears. We're shocked by their outburst, or they're crying, or, them freaking out. And at first we may think that they're just playing a joke on us because it's so far-fetched and it, as far as they take it. But it is really no longer our friend that is standing before us, because their primitive mind has taken over. Like Captain Caveman. Don't know if you're old enough to remember that cartoon. But sometimes, the actions can be more subtle. We don't even realize that we are acting differently. We don't recognize patterns of behavior or, our bodily reactions. Like if we fear being in a large group of people, our bodies might react with upset stomachs, or we end up backing out of plans, not even realizing, just thinking that we were getting sick. If we don't like driving in traffic because we fear being in an accident again, we might subconsciously, choose back streets and avoid, heavily populated areas. Or even consciously, we might just be saying, I just don't like traffic. But it's really fear that is driving that. And we can become competitive at work, fearing that we'll lose our job and thus lose everything in our lives. We fear being fired because, what will people think if I get fired? Just so many different ways that we can experience fear every day. And I think that stepping through a variety of fears, kind of episode by episode, would be a great adventure. So look forward to that, because I think that's what I'm going to do here in the future episodes. Just kind of step through fear by fear by fear, and kind of just talk through why we think what we do and how we can maybe overcome them. Because fear can be subtle, it is good to know that there are other ways, besides the physical ones mentioned before, to identify when we are in fear. And these can be like our flags to show us that we've entered the fear territory, once again. One way is if we find ourselves judging others. What that really means is we have ourselves under conditional love laws. Our fear ego feels the need to compare, to know if we are acceptable or if we are rejectable. So if we're judging others, that is one flag that we are in fear. Of course, if we're judging ourselves, we have ourselves under conditional love laws because we have some sort of level of existence that we're trying to achieve in order to be lovable and acceptable. And that'll put us in that area of fear, because we're not in unconditional love when we're in that realm. And also, if I am defensive or I'm defending something, then I'm in fear. Because if I am in unconditional love, I have nothing to defend. Because I fear losing nothing. Because I am everything. Don't worry, we may not be in this place right now, but we're only on episode 2, so cut yourself some slack. We have an exciting journey ahead of us. And there are some things that can help us cope with our fears and calm ourselves as we begin the journey coming back from fear together. Number 1 was, slow breathing, like I mentioned. And why I have us do that is because when we take deep breaths and we hold our breath, and we calm our heart, we slow kind of the adrenaline flow, and we allow ourselves to return to a state of calmness and clear thinking. So taking that deep breath in through the nose and holding it for, a few seconds and releasing it through our mouth just helps us gain back control and brings us back to the moment. So just remember, if you're feeling panicked, try slow breathing, and that generally helps very quickly. Number 2 is if we can realize that fear happens inside us, not outside us, out here. That helps us realize that we are really in control of our emotions. And if we can take those deep breaths and come back to clearer thinking, then we can really look at those fears and realize that we are in control. Number 3 is actually letting go of control. And, really the concept of realizing the only thing that we are in control of is how we choose to feel about a situation in our life. So we may not be in control of all this external situations and circumstances, other people's behaviors and actions. If we can let go of that external control, realizing that I can define what everything means to me. If I get fired, I can choose what that means for me. I can choose to make it a devastating thing in my life, or I can make it a new start and a fresh start to finally do the things I was afraid to do, because now I have no choice. So now it's a springboard into something else. We can have that power of choice and, change our world of fear into something else. Number 4 is something that just recently kind of dawned on me, I guess you'd say. I found when I was getting drawn into the past, if I took myself all the way back to my birth, took it to the extreme past, and then took one step more backward before my body existed here, and then I would see unconditional love from where we come from. And then in the other direction, if I was drawn into the future, I would take it to the extreme all the way like to my death, and then take one step beyond that, again, to that place of unconditional love. And then I'd come back to this moment, right here, right now. And I'd realize that I am just here in this moment for the experience. Because outside of this moment is only unconditional love when I go to those extremes. So I can just be here, right now, experience this moment. And I don't have to judge it, and I don't have to define it. I can just witness it. Number 5 is recalling our power of choice. It's activating the power of no. As soon as we allow external things to define us, we seem to give away our power, but not really. Because if we go back and look at the situation and realize we were in control of our emotions the whole time, we can re-choose and let that event in our memory be transformed into something new. And then finally, number 6 is something that I totally have involved in my life, which is essential oils. And the right quality of oil can calm our emotions, whether we breathe it in, apply it to our skin, or take it internally. Of course, we want to make sure it's from a healthy source, because there are so many unhealthy imitations out there. So if you want to know more about, the right type of essential oils, contact me if you want more information on that, because it is very important to have a safe source. I'll provide a link to my bradazen.com site to where you can contact me. So if we can't run from our threats because they are in our mind, or we can't fight them because they are not real, then what do we do? Next episode, we'll talk about how to begin to reprogram our fight-flight triggers and increase our ability to be uncomfortable without freaking out about it. We can return from a place of fear to a place of rest where we can be at our higher wellness. So until next time, write this secret down. Every moment is of love or the fear of losing love. Remember who you are.